some public comment. Kevin Fryer.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and honorable council members. My name is Kevin Fryer, and I'll be very brief. I just wanted to come up and speak in favor of this trip and these kinds of trips. The Bay Area is a very dynamic economic region on the Pacific Rim, and Brisbane is part of that. I think that it's very valuable to go out and engage in the national and international marketplace of ideas. I think that that just makes us smarter and stronger as we look at the challenges moving forward as a community. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Kevin. Tony Barrios.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council. I want to thank Terry O'Connell for her comments, because I think she's the one person so far that reflected some of the community's feelings about this matter. When Clark mentioned that he thought some of the comments were a result of fear in the community, whether it's fear of money coming from UPC or some other place, I don't read it that way at all. I think that's inaccurate. I support the Chamber's efforts 100% as a member of the Chamber, and I think it's fully appropriate for them to reach out or reach back, either way. But when a city council person is going to take a trip representing the city, as opposed to just a private vacation, then I think the city council should weigh in on what that representation should be and any limits that they might feel that are appropriate to put on it. I also think that, as Clark did mention, getting out in front of these things by telling the people in advance, publishing what the rules or prescription is, where money comes from, who benefits, is not optional. If you want to have more problems, just keep doing things the way it was done the last time. You'll have more problems. Don't have a problem with Lori taking the trip at all, and I think it's unfortunate that some people made it personal, which there was no reason to do that, no justification for doing that. But I also wasn't thrilled with Lori's response on that Facebook page either, because I think that also didn't put her in the best light. It was more like coming down to the level of the people who you feel are attacking you. I don't think that helps. As far as the city council is concerned, what you do in the future, I think that you all saw the slides tonight. The gentleman from the nonprofit San Mateo Trade Group spoke well, and I think we all understand, unless you're hiding someplace, you know how big China is and you know how sophisticated they are. We saw a room with 1,000 people in it, or we were told there were 1,000 people in it. That's not unsophisticated, putting that together. If they want to reach out to Brisbane, they can do it real easy. They can Google us just the way we Google them. They can reach out to all of you or the city manager and the chamber very easily. So personally, I don't really see a great need for these trade missions. And I understand what other people have said. I'm not anti-trade. I'm not anti-Chinese. And I'm all for reaching out and doing the best for Brisbane. But I'm very concerned about the fact that our chamber says that we have a very low vacancy rate in this town now in terms of commercial businesses. Where would anybody go if they wanted to come here? If you're looking at them doing something with the Baylands, that's not under your control in the first place.
Right.
So I just want to ask you, I am, thank you. I just want to ask you all to consider those things and think about it and be more upfront, because even the issue about filing the tax report for the Fair Political Commissions Act, it's an after-the-fact deal, and that doesn't sit well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, so Patrick Tainter.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor and members of the City Council. I would just like to say that I support these kinds of trips, especially to China. I lived in Hong Kong for 7 years. I worked in China those entire 7 years in manufacturing, and for another 2 years after I left Hong Kong. I can't say I'm an expert on China, but I certainly learned a whole lot more than I knew when I first went there. Doing business with China is all about relationships. There are facts and figures, and we can talk about accounting, we can talk about this and that in terms of business, but the relationship and the cultural understanding can only be gained by a one-on-one meeting with people. That's extremely important. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so moving on to the consent calendar. Oh, did you, okay, Robert, you want to say one final word?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. At the very beginning of my prepared remarks, I stated that the trade association is a nonprofit corporation, and we're in the process of applying for our tax-exempt status under our IRC Section 501c6. Mr. Diaz approached me one-on-one and asked me about the nonprofit status of our association. I said we are a nonprofit corporation. We're days away from getting the tax-exempt status. Two different things. Tax-exempt, as you all know, means that anybody who wants to contribute to these kinds of efforts can potentially get a tax deduction. That's it. I was surprised and very disappointed to have Mr. Diaz come here and announce that the association is not is a non-profit corporation. Very disingenuous and very disappointing. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so moving on to the consent calendar. Are there any items that council members would want to pull? If not, I will take a motion to adopt the consent calendar.
Item B, I have an edit, a proposed edit.
Okay.
I believe that we have a member of the public that would like to speak on item C.
Okay, so then let's pull that.
Is the edit on item B just the name change for the China Trade Association?
I'm good with that. It
Yes.
just reflects the accuracy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A motion to approve items A and B with the amendment on item B.
How about
There's
D,
D,
E,
F?
F?
E and
Oh.
F?
Yeah, that too.
Okay, do I have
I'll
a second?
second that.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so item
Aye.
C, which is waiving the second reading, amending municipal code regarding residential district R1 and R2 and R3 and Brisbane acres regarding carports and setbacks and height limits and other items.
And I pulled that because I heard from the member of the community that would like to speak on that. I know we've had quite lengthy discussions on this in the past already, but
Yeah.
I would like to give the opportunity to Ms. Dilworth.
I thank you very much, council members and Mr. Mayor. I questioned some of the language in 1706 about R1 zoning, where it goes G2, height of garage. It says that it may exceed 30 feet, and in the Brisbane acres, 35 feet height limit. It doesn't. It says it may exceed 30 feet, but it doesn't set any limit. So 90 feet, 100 feet exceeds 30. I think you need to look at the language here. I've already sat through enough things where they're going, oh, well, the language doesn't really say you can't do that. So I think this language needs to be cleaner. Can't exceed 30 feet in excess of 10% or something, 3.5 more feet. I don't know, but just saying that you can exceed something doesn't seem like adequate language. And then when it states 30 feet for the garage and 30 feet for living, it doesn't say that you're limited to the combined 30 feet, and you could read that to be that the a garage with housing either over or above it could be 60 feet. So the way this reads is pretty open. For 1732-40, for design standards, it says garage doors shall be of a roll-up sectional design and should be equipped with a remote. We've been looking for a garage door, and I want you to know that there are some exceptional garage doors out there that are not the roll-up sectional design, and I find that very disturbing that you would make an entire town have to have a particular look to the garage door. So I don't know what's gone on before me. I'm sorry, I've been home with sick, either myself or my husband, and haven't had time to watch this, but this doesn't make sense to me. It says H1 on site. For having on-site turnarounds seems a great burden for a single-family home, especially one that's 2,500 square feet. I lived on a very tiny house, and to require all single-family dwellings to have turnaround radius in their driveways is, astronomical. I don't know if anybody put that into perspective. Under J, for parking landscaping, why is there no mention of bioswales? Here we're putting in ordinance for parking landscaping and no mention of all the information that's been presented to us about the importance of bioswales and finding different ways to deal with that runoff. So I kind of object to the diamond-shaped tree wells. We live in Brisbane, the city of stars. They could be star-shaped. We live, the Mission Blue butterfly, our tree wells could be butterfly-shaped. Why the heck, are we limiting ourselves to diamond-shaped tree wells unless we have a contract with somebody who just does diamond-shaped tree wells? And there is no mention of native plants. I know this is a sore spot for our planning department, but, we're a town that somewhere would love to see, when you're talking about landscaping, a preference for native plants, an acknowledgement of the beauty of the native plants. Zero zip. I find this to be very difficult to go through the process of setting laws and see that they're totally devoid of anything that is Brisbane. And you guys, we expect to do better. Thank you.
Can we?
Dana, could you give your list to John over there? John, can you?
My blood pressure too.
Yeah.
I know we did address, I know off the top of my head, the whole garage door thing was something I brought up as a concern because it didn't make sense to me either. And the response that I received, which is on a recording of a past meeting, was that what happens is that with our streets being so narrow, if a car is parked, the driver has to get out and then go and open up their garage, meaning that there could be cars that come behind and back up behind them, waiting for them to then pull into their garage. And then what also happens is it also limits the possibility for there being off-street parking within the driveway, because theoretically, if you have to open up the garage door manually, it would come into the area where you would park your car in the driveway. So I think that was one of the reasons why they had put that in about the automatic garage door. But I totally understand your concern because I brought that up too. But that explanation kind of made sense to me, and just thinking about safety, since our roads are so narrow, and because parking is such an issue, we want to be able to maximize the amount of off-street parking that we can. And I think that the height limit thing was also, it could go beyond 30 feet, but wasn't it so that it would be no more than 15 feet from the street? Wasn't that what would create the maximum?
That is correct.
Can you kind of speak on that a little bit? Because I don't want to, I'm obviously not the expert, but I want to make sure that this is kind of addressed.
Again, the sort of fixed point is the 15 feet from the street. So that's going to be the top of the garage. So you're going to have the fall off. These are all downhill lots. I think this whole idea about whether or not you wanted to approve any additional height, this has been discussed several times. This was the language that the Planning Commission approved. Again, with lot depth and slope, the idea of putting an additional height limit, it would put you in the same situation. If you want to say it's a 33-foot maximum, you're creating, again, a limitation on certain slope lots are not going to be able to comply anyway. So if the point of this was to allow for, these conditions to occur in unusually steep lots where they would, benefit from having that additional height underneath, that was really the intent. So, that was what the council did. That's what the Planning Commission recommended as well.
And we fully vetted that too, and that was something you talked about in your
The diagrams.
subcommittee meetings as well.
Well, we had in the subcommittee meetings, we didn't really come to a consensus, but then we had been convinced here in this meeting, I think, or I was convinced here in this meeting when Clark brought up the issues about the slopes and being able to have the depth for parking, that I, at that point, really felt that it should, if it goes above that 30 feet height, should come for a variance. But it seemed that the council discussion at that point was that we were trying to eliminate the need for many variances for the garage slope driveways. I still think that that's something that should be looked at, but I'm not on that side of the fence. So
Yeah, okay. So, entertain a motion to approve that item on the consent calendar.
Motion to approve item C.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
and I'm going to go the other direction.
Okay,
But
all right. Okay.
Did you note that, Sherry? Okay.
Okay, so moving on to new business. Let's see. Consider approval of Day in the Park events on Saturday, September 24th, 2016. We have a member of the Park and Rec Commission, Teresa Jimenez.
Good evening, Mayor Lenz and council members. I'm Teresa Jimenez. I am a member of the Park and Recs Commission, and I'm also on the Day in the Park and Derby Subcommittee. And we've been meeting, the subcommittee has been meeting to discuss proposed changes and additions to this year's event. And we recently met with the City Council Park and Rec liaisons, Madison and Lori, to discuss our ideas and introduce our vision for this year's event. As you may know, it's the 30th anniversary this year of the event itself and the 10-year anniversary for the Derby. And we'd like to do it much bigger and much grander and really change it up. We have a lot of great ideas. And I know that Noreen Leak sent you a list of some of our ideas, and I don't know if you want me to go over all of them here or whether, just generalize. But we are asking for an additional $8,500 to the existing budget, which is set aside for this event, which is generally between $24,000 and $26,000, and the Derby is usually around $45,000. $4,500. So sorry. And so we're asking for an additional $85,000. We would very much like to make it a day where people will come and stay the whole day, not just come down and drop in and drop out. And we've got a lot of ideas to keep people there and really make it a fun day.
I have a question.
Okay.
Did you have more? Sorry, I want to make
go
sure.
for it.
Okay. Did you look into the food truck situation? We're still
looking into that, yeah.
Okay.
Nothing's been decided.
Okay. Is there any interest? Did you secure anything for concerts in the park related to food trucks? I know that was something that you guys were also talking about.
No.
Okay.
No.
Did you meet with any breweries or distilleries or anything to
We have
discuss?
not-
Okay.
have not done that yet. It's just still in
Just kind of in
discussion phase.
and
Yes.
would that depend then on getting the would the $8,500 impact whether you guys would move forward with that specific part of the
Not necessarily. That's the one part in our proposal where,
it's potentially free, right?
yeah, it's potentially free, depending on how it's set up. And one of the commission members, David Drutz, in his daily business life, has done a lot of large events and worked with breweries and so forth. And there's a couple of different ways to go about it.
Right.
And I would rather defer to him for that part of it.
Right,
But
right.
It may end up costing us nothing for that part specifically.
Great. Those are all my questions.
Okay.
So Laura, you were also on the subcommittee.
Yeah, I was. I was really excited to hear about all of the ideas. I think it's a great idea, especially for, this special anniversary of the festival, the Day in the Park, to do something extra special. Understanding that the cost will not be as high next year and the following year. So this is a one-time addition. And I like the idea of, doing something different to attract more people. And I understand you're also planning on doing shutting down the street, closing it down, like we did
Correct.
for the pop-up workshop.
Exactly.
So that then the vendors and all the tents can be moved to the street, and that'll really open up the park as a place for people to go and
Picnic,
yeah,
to
to
spread
create more
out
space.
lawn chairs or blankets and kind of plant it for the day and have a spot to come back to, listen to the music or whatever's going on under the bandstand, and have kind of the street fair part of it kind of wrap around the park and leave the park open for people.
Right,
So they
right.
can stay.
And I like also that you looked at how to save costs, like by having the event shortened just from 10 to 3 as opposed to 10 to 5, because
Yes.
the end of the day gets windy and a lot of people, the attendance tends to be lower at that time in the day, and the volunteers have stayed there all day long, and so that saves them $900. And then you've talked about the beer garden, so that'll attract
And the beer garden has the potential of actually bringing money in and
Right, yeah,
offsetting some
right.
of our costs.
right, and the T-shirts may also be for sale, right?
Yes.
So you'll recoup some of that cost. So yeah, I was pretty excited by all the new ideas.
I'm excited too.
Jerry, do you have any questions for Teresa?
No, I don't. I hope that it's a good success and that we don't have liftoff of the tents like we did last year. I think that it's, while I think it's an important event, I hope that it's a success, but it's a lot of money for one day.
Clark?
Yeah, motion to approve additional 8,500.
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And Teresa, thank you for coming tonight and
Thank
and
you.
being so enthusiastic about being a Park and Rec Commissioner. I know that's how the full body feels about providing great services and
Yes.
activities to our community, and I know we're going to have a wonderful day.
I hope so. I think we will. Thank you.
Take care.
Thanks.
Okay, so moving on to the next item, item B.
Mr. Mayor, could we do item C before B? Because I'm not sure I'm going to be able to last. I'm not sure how long your presentation is.
Well, if I could just take a second, as enthusiastic as Stuart and I are about the budget presentation, and we actually are this year because of where we're kind of going with it, given the lateness of the hour, we can move this on to the June 2nd agenda, because this part of it, I think, is very important to have a good overview. We
Okay.
spent 3 hours with the subcommittee. We don't need to spend 3 hours, but I think we probably need to spend an hour. And
Okay.
so I would
No,
suggest
that's
we move
fair.
to June 2nd.
Yeah, we can't do
Absolutely.
that.
Okay, so we'll move item B to the next
June
council
2nd.
meeting. Okay,
Thank
so that was a good suggestion.
Yeah, that
Clark?
was, thank you.
Okay, so item C, which is establishing the business license tax charge to liquid storage facilities.
Mayor and Council, this item is before you to consider adopting a resolution to implement the business license tax for the liquid storage facilities for 2016. As the Council knows, that the voters approved this tax in November of 2013. In 2014 and 2015, the Council adopted a business license tax of $38.91 for each 1,000 cubic feet of storage capacity, and based on that, the operator and owner of the storage facility, liquid storage facility in Brisbane, it's actually owned by a company called SFPP, but Kinder Morgan is how it's normally referred to, and paid the tax of $135,000 in each of those 2 years, even though the council could have imposed a tax of up to $400,000 based on its storage capacity. The company paid those taxes under protest, and as the council is aware, they have now, or the company has filed suit now in San Mateo County Superior Court seeking a reimbursement of those funds. We are now defending that action, and hopefully we will get a favorable result. In the interim, however, the council does need to decide whether it wants to impose a business license tax for these facilities for 2016. Staff is recommending that the full amount of the tax be imposed, which would be in the amount of $400,000 rather than $135,000. Accordingly, we make a recommendation that the council adopt a resolution imposing the tax of $400,000 for 2016, and we would bill the company accordingly. Any questions? I'll be glad to answer it.
Any questions for City Attorney?
I have no questions.
No.
Okay.
There's any
members of the public who like to speak on this matter?
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2016-09.
Second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. All right. Moving on to staff reports. Clay?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. A couple of items. This Saturday, starting at 9 a.m. till noon, the Fire Department, North County Fire Authority, will be conducting their annual wildland training exercise. So there will be a lot of engines in town, and there may also be a helicopter flying over as part of the exercise. The second item is the 75th Annual Memorial Day observance at Golden Gate National Cemetery is going to be happening on Monday, May 30th at 11 a.m. So there may be some interest to attend that. June 7th is the primary election, and just a reminder to everybody that the election actually will be held in this room and not in the community center as it's been historically held. And on June 11th, which is a Saturday at 10 a.m., we're going to be having the ribbon cutting for the skateboard park. If we can keep the kids out of there between now and then. But everyone is invited to attend that. And then finally, Peninsula Sun Shares, the residential Sulk Bowler discount program, will be launching in late July, and we will be getting updates out on that as that information is available.
Great. Okay, Mayor and Council matters. So, anybody have any assignments to report on?
I think it was.
I have a couple.
Sorry.
You can go first.
Go ahead.
Oh,
Okay. I'll start. So I attended the Peninsula Clean Energy Board meeting last week, and we appointed our CEO. Her name is Janice Pepper. She comes from Santa Clara Valley Power. She has over 30 years in the utility experience, and she also is an elected official on the Los Altos City Council. So she will hit the ground running, and we're excited to move forward with that. Today, I was at the ABAG General Assembly as the alternate regarding the proposed merger between ABAG and MTC. After about 3 hours of discussion and lots of animated comments, both in favor of options 4 and options 7, there was a very close vote in favor of option 7, which I'll remind you is to enter into a contract between ABAG and MTC to consolidate the staff functions under one executive director, which would be in line with MTC, and then enter into a memorandum of understanding to pursue a new governance option. So the vote was 28 yes, 23 no.
Wow.
We had just enough to make a quorum. And I'm sorry, that was 28 from the cities, 23 no from the cities, and the county was 4 yes, 2 no. So it went to the executive board this evening for their consideration. And so it looks like if they accept that proposal, then ABAG will continue to exist, which is very good for the cities. Yet it remains to be seen what the terms of the memorandum of understanding and contract for services will be. I should note that the motion that was made was that it would be to start with approval of option 4 with a fallback for option 7. But the option 7 there was a little bit of a contingency added, that there was an expectation that there would be this dotted line, it was called, between ABAG and MTC would become solid with the succession of a new executive director of MTC. In other words, once a new executive director is selected, it would become more clear what authority and control ABAG would have over the planning staff. And we voted yes for that proposal, which passed.
All right, good.
It was a pretty interesting meeting.
How long did the meeting last?
It was supposed to go from noon to 3, and I think it ended somewhere between 3:15 and 3:30.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm
just
sure.
in time for me to come back, eat a little dinner, and come to this meeting.
Yeah, well, interesting. All right, well, we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
All right, let's see, Terry, you look like you had something to report?
Nope.
Okay. Madison?
I just had the meeting with Lori we didn't report on that last time, right?
Which meeting?
With the Park and Recreation liaison, met with them, and they kind of just presented what we talked about.
Right. Yeah,
Teresa, so that was the
we
only
talked about.
thing that I had.
Oh, and then we didn't talk, Cliff, about our economic development subcommittee yesterday.
That's right.
Was it yesterday? The days are going together. We met with a representative from a hotel union that had some suggestions about a conditional use permit for a hotel if there were to be a hotel at the Baylands. And so we talked with them about the pros and cons of having it come through a conditional use permit versus through a development agreement, which was recommended by our staff.
Yes.
And unless you have anything else to add.
We talked a little bit about Parkside and trying
That's right.
to, just make sure that the meeting that we have, with the community
Right.
is, we cover all the bases and that we really engage the community and really thoroughly put forth, the options that could be available. And so that we're really clear about having good graphics and good communication that so people when they come, their answers will be or their questions will be answered.
Mm-hmm.
And when is that meeting?
June 2nd.
Yeah, it's our next council meeting.
And then I guess we should mention that Cliff and I met earlier this evening for the Infrastructures, Utility, and Franchise Subcommittee and discussed some.
Not me.
I'm sorry, Clark.
Clark.
The other.
And she's.
The other.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, the other.
I guess I should have shaved a little bit closer before I came to.
Yes.
We discussed 3 engineering traffic solutions to some issues that had come up around town. One of them had come back before the council because the subcommittee couldn't make a recommendation on it, so staff wants to get full council input. And The other two is just some engineering things that are going to be put on place. One of them has to do with San Bruno Avenue, Thomas Avenue intersection. The other is San Bruno Avenue, Bay Shore intersection. Does that about sum it up?
And then we talked about some garbage.
Yeah, that'll be coming before the council, the
Yeah.
garbage
Yeah.
rate hikes from both
Scavenger companies.
South San Francisco, Scavenger, and Recology. And then,
We talked about something else.
what was the third item?
Oh, yes, solar at City Hall.
Oh, yeah. So we gave some ideas on that, and that'll be coming before City Council too, after staff will be doing some investigation further, and then we'll have one more meeting, and then if it all comes to fruition, that'll come for the City Council for approval.
One other thing I forgot to mention about Peninsula Clean Energy. We talked at the last board meeting about the staff asked if all of the cities could go back and ask two questions for our councils. One, whether our council is interested in having our city utility account start at the 100% renewable option. They're going to have different tiers, right, for electricity, and they're asking if cities want to be role models to their constituents to have their utility, their energy come from a 100% renewable source, which means that it will be at a slightly above market cost. So I believe the staff is working with Stuart to get the numbers of what that would mean so that we have something in front of us to make that determination. And then secondly, they wanted to know whether we think our residents and businesses would be interested in starting at the 100% renewable rate, as rather than opting up to it individually, whether we want to have it be the preferred or automatic selection, and then people could always opt down. That one was a little more controversial, and I think so far only the city of Portola Valley said that they are interested in having their city do that. So that'll be a matter for further discussion. But those are some of the policy issues we've been working on there.
Now, the 50% option is cheaper than
Yes.
what PG&E is offering for today. So, yeah, I mean, that's a no-brainer right there.
Right.
But, going 100% is not that much more. I mean, when you really look at your overall costs for usage, I didn't think it was significantly more.
I can tell I'm brain dead because I know I've had this discussion with someone here on the council or on the dais or with staff, and I can't even remember which one I've had that discussion with. But I do. Was it with you?
It was in a part of our subcommittee meeting.
Well, but we discussed it at another time too, about the 100% buy-in.
We did it
Maybe
all
was the-
together one time.
Right, and I think that's something that if it's reasonably priced, that I would like to see the city move forward with being the role model. I'd like to see the whole city be a role model.
I think it was just really minimally more expensive. Like it was not, well, maybe like
$2 to $5 a month.
$5 maybe, $2
Yeah.
to $5.
For a regular person, but
Yeah, for a regular person, who knows?
I don't want to.
Discuss.
They're going to
get
offer
into
to us for
that now.
$2 more a month.
Yeah.
I'll go for it.
But Stuart, have you had a chance to connect yet with?
I have. I mean, we're still working through the numbers, but it'll probably be somewhere in the 15,000 plus range.
a year.
Because of how much electricity we use.
Oh, for the municipal
they-
account.
Right, and I haven't heard, they don't have their exact rates yet, and that's the challenge. And we will be setting up a meeting between the PCE, PG&E, and us sometime in the middle of June so we can have a full conversation about all the issues with staff. So we'll be able to bring that back and give you a more complete understanding.
Yeah, and that would be the most appropriate time to have that discussion.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see. So we talked about economic development. I didn't have any county meetings, except though I did attend the select committee for the South Bay arrivals that was at SFO. They are forming their own group, similar to, well, there's a group that's being formed in Santa Clara and Santa Cruz County, as well as the southern part of San Mateo County, to deal with the arrivals, the long-term arrivals that are coming into SFO. It's being created to deal with the FAA's initiative. Whether or not it expands and becomes a full-time thing, we'll see. The SFO Roundtable is the body that is dealing with the FAA's initiative. And so we have, I put some information, it's on the dais. And so we have some roundtable meetings. There's a workshop, technical working group meeting on March 26th. Council members can attend if they want to learn more about the March 26th.
March?
Oh, I'm sorry. It's May. Thank you. May 26th. I'm getting a little tired there.
The other end of the month.
Yeah, I know. So May 26th, so it's next week. It's at the San Francisco Airport. It's from 9 to 12. The public is also welcome to attend. Then on June 1st, the roundtable will have their 35th anniversary meeting. Again, it's open to the public. And then there'll be another technical working group meeting on June 22nd, and then a special roundtable meeting on the 27th. So we've been anticipating the FAA to release their findings based on the suggestions that all the communities have contributed. And when you look at this document, you see what the FAA has agreed to be feasible as far as suggestions from communities. The city of Brisbane, if you look at this thing, I mean, we've gotten all of our suggestions to be evaluated as feasible. And so that doesn't mean that we're there yet to, full implementation. But when you look at other communities that have asked for things, many are not feasible. And so, but it's because of the work of folks out in the community and putting forth ideas that are realistic, that make sense. And so I'm not going to go through them here because it's late, but I know that Peter and Patrick are in the audience, and I want to thank you for the work that you've contributed to this. And so now we've talked about having this letter.
Right.
Now the letter, when we were putting together the letter, the FAA had already closed the window in regards to taking comments for phase 1. Now we're in phase 2, and so I still feel that it's very important that we have a letter, but that that letter articulate what we do want, and I think we're not there yet. But I think through working with the Roundtable's technical working group, along with further collaboration with the community, we'll come up with something that we can say, yes, these are the things that we want to do as a city. And as the chair of the Roundtable, I'm trying to get other cities to do the same thing, so that all cities, councils are, having letters regarding the procedures that affect them and say, these are the things that we want. And that's what the FAA is looking for. They want the communities to say, where should these flights go? And the FAA is not going to do that. And so, but it'll be a collaborative process, and hopefully, sometime this summer, we'll get something to the FAA that hopefully makes our lives a lot better in regards to airplane noise.
Hey, Cliff. Are we planning to have, I know that it's now with phase 2 and getting that letter out, we want that to really reflect what we want to see happen. And that's going to come kind of from voices within our community letting us know, because we each have our own experiences with airplane noise, but my experience is going to be different than Lori's experience because we're located in 2 different areas of Brisbane. So are we planning to have a workshop here?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. So yes, and so I've reached out to Bert Ganong. He's the SFO noise abatement director at SFO, and so he is willing to come to Brisbane, and so and provide a workshop for the community to kind of put things in historical reference. We've had planes flying over Brisbane for a long time. And so having that information kind of gives you a foundation of how things were in the past, and then how things have been recently, and then where can we move into the future. He'll also provide, I think some good grounding for some of the things that we would like to see happen. And then, that will also be part of the process of creating that final document, I think, that we as a council can put forth and be the direction of the city.
One thing that I'd like to mention is that, and I was going to bring it up under written communications, but really, I have gotten many emails from the city, from citizens, and many echo the same issues and concerns about where we're going from here as a city council and on the SFO roundtable and what we're going to be able to achieve and where the noise is going to go if it's not here. But I think it would be good to, I don't see that on our dais of a list of those emails, and I would say I've gotten at least 30.
Yeah, me too.
So, and they all seem to have gone to all of us, but I do think that would be good to have some sort of record of who we're talking to, so that those people can. I did not respond, and I apologize to the people that sent all those emails to us, that I didn't individually respond to them, but I think it's important to recognize and have a compiled list of those people, and that we can reach out to them to let them know when the meeting is going to be, even though it appears that they're hooked into the link in the group, because they all had a common theme. But I do think that it would be nice if, since we're not going to list them individually as communications, that we have some sort of historical tabulation of where we're getting comments and what the gist of those comments are. And so I'm hoping that city staff can correlate that and keep that together so we have that historical record. You don't have to respond.
Okay.
You don't have those emails?
Did you get it? Yeah, I got it. Okay, got it.
Okay.
All right, written communications. I did receive an email here from Lisa Boucher, regarding her enthusiasm for the items that the Park and Rec Commission has recommended for Day in the Park. And then Lori gave the update on ABAG and MTC. So now we have oral communications number 2. If anybody wants to speak on Paul.
Paul Buscal, Brisbane resident. So I had a gentleman on my hike last week. His name was Stephen Wong, and he procures funding for major metropolitan projects. And what he's working on now, his project is the airport. And at the end of our day, he said, by the way, there's funding for cities that are impacted by the airport for mitigated measures. And he recommended that the city of Brisbane apply for mitigated funds that are out there from the airport. He was specifically talking about the new terminal that he's working on procuring funds for, so I just thought I'd put that out there.
Oh, why not?
Yeah, can I?
Yeah, you can comment. I know where you're going with that one, Clark.
Yeah. Historically, the city of Brisbane has not taken any mitigated funds, because once you do that, they're really going to fly over you.
Well,
they're supposed to be noise.
He was talking about mitigated off-site. No, he was talking about off-site mitigation that they couldn't do at the airport, like restoration or stuff that pertains to what's going on with the mountain. It had nothing to do with. I mean, like I did mention to him. I said, would that be like what the people in San Bruno and South City did when they agreed to have insulated doors and windows put in, and now they're stuck with what's going on? He says, no, it's different.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, connect me with him.
But I'm glad you mentioned, because I wouldn't have mentioned that, but yeah, there is a difference.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, I will get
They're
some
pollution,
information for you.
environmental mitigations instead of noise mitigations.
Yes,
For their
thank-
building of their site.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Paul. Okay, so, okay.
Sorry, I just had to go home and take care of some business. So I didn't get to finish my thoughts. So regarding the FPPC, I talked to them, and you cannot get advice verbally on gifts. You're supposed to put it in writing. They submit it to their legal department, then they respond back in writing. So Lori said that she did it verbally on the phone. It doesn't work that way. I'm not sure why that happened.
You know what? This is oral communications, and
Yeah,
I
it's
don't
something
set
that's
up
not on.
no, these
It's
are
not on. This isn't
you know
on
what?
the agenda.
It was on the agenda, and you know what?
That was a presentation. Okay, I'm moving on. Okay.
You know what? What do you want me to do? If
I just
you're
wanna
going to talk
move on.
about something that's not on tonight's agenda, you have every right to do that. But if you are not, if you're going to talk about something that's already on tonight's agenda,
So
then
talking about social media now. Okay, please.
Okay.
So Lori posted on Facebook. It was a very disappointing post, calling citizens liars, that they were spreading lies. And
we're done.
And
Thank
I
you.
don't
No,
think that's
you're not going to
appropriate.
go out and
Yeah, listen, you
All right.
can't prohibit criticism. That's against the Brown Act, another Brown Act violation.
You know what?
So please step in and allow me to speak and voice my concerns and my criticisms.
You know, look,
So this is what happened, and it's not a good idea. We all know that's not a good thing, okay? So I'm not doing that. I'm just reporting on what happened, and I don't appreciate it, and I think we should stop that, and I think you guys should not encourage being on Facebook talking about city business, okay? And
you know, I'm going to ask you to sit down.
okay, but I want to speak my piece, and I have the right to do so, and I want it to be part of the
I'm
record.
going to ask you to sit down, please.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right?
Okay. So I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Aye.
All those in favor?
A second.
Aye.